Anthropic just had what might be the most pivotal week of its entire existence.
It was huge.
Yeah, we're talking about a week that wasn't just, another product update. It felt like a foundational shift.
It really did.
They were simultaneously going after funding that suggests, an almost trillion-dollar future, launching a massive new vertical in healthcare, and unveiling these efficiency breakthroughs that just changed the whole economic picture for AI safety.
This is a textbook pivot. Our sources all point to Anthropic moving away from being just a research lab, though that's still critical, of course,
Right.
and moving firmly into place as an industrial enterprise infrastructure provider. So for you listening, our mission here is to really drill down into two things. First, the innovations that make this move to agentic AI in regulated industries possible.
And second, the money.
And second, how that reported $350 billion valuation and funding round is designed to fuel that colossal industrial leap.
Okay, let's start with the core engine then, because none of this enterprise stuff works unless the tech is both incredibly capable and incredibly cheap to run.
Exactly.
Anthropic seems, almost obsessed with maximizing intelligence per dollar. And the biggest technical news we saw this week was about safety costs. This was the next generation constitutional classifiers, 40x cost reduction. What exactly did they pull off here? And why is making safety cheaper so important?
Well, they essentially cracked the economic tax that safety used to put on these frontier models.
The safety tax, I like that.
Yeah, constitutional AI, it relies on this powerful system to classify harmful prompts, to stop jailbreak attempts, to keep the model aligned.
Right.
But historically, running that powerful safety system on every single query, that carried a really heavy computational cost.
It's like having the full Secret Service detail check every person who walks into the building, even if they're just delivering a pizza.
That's a perfect analogy. Exactly.
Yeah.
So they introduced what they're calling constitutional classifiers plus PubMed, which is it's a fantastic piece of engineering. It's like a smart airport security system.
Okay.
They now use a lightweight, very, very fast probe, that's your metal detector, to screen 99% of the traffic. And only the suspicious queries, the ones that, set off the alarm, get escalated to the heavier, much more compute-intensive classifier.
The deep dive X-ray machine.
Precisely.
And the bottom line here, the metric that matters for enterprise margins is just massive. They took the compute overhead for jailbreak defense from almost 24% of the cost of a query all the way down to about 1%.
A 40x reduction. And that reduction is the key. It's what unlocks this whole next phase of industrial AI.
How so?
Well, if advanced safety is almost free to run, it's no longer a difficult trade-off for a company between speed and cost versus, ethics and compliance. It makes putting these safety mechanisms in place not just an ethical thing to do, but an economically smart one, especially at high volume enterprise scale. That 1% overhead, that's the ticket they need to sell to these big, cautious, regulated sectors.
I'm still just stuck on that 40x number. Are there any caveats here, any compromises they had to make to get that, or is this just a pure efficiency win?
The research suggests it's a net gain. The two-stage system seems to maintain pretty much identical effectiveness. It just uses compute resources in a much smarter way.
And you can see their confidence in this reflected elsewhere, right? Like with the Opus 3 model retirement on January 5th.
Yes, exactly. This stuff is routine, but the timing here is what's really significant.
They just pulled Claude Opus 3 from the API. That forces developers to update their systems like right now. Why such a hard cutoff for what was once their flagship model?
I think they're aggressively pushing the market toward this new efficiency baseline. Developers are now pointed straight to the newer models, mostly Opus 4.5.
Which is better and cheaper.
It's better, it's more intelligent, and crucially, it runs at about 1/3 the cost of the Opus 3 they just retired.
So it's a clear signal to their corporate clients.
Very clear signal. They're setting a new standard. Intelligence has to be cheap and efficient if you're going to build these high-volume, mission-critical agent systems.
And we see an immediate, very high-stakes application of that cheap, capable intelligence in, of all places, national security.
Right, the AI Defense for Critical Infrastructure project.
This was a partnership with the Pacific Northwest National Lab, PNNL, using Claude Sonnet 4 as an agent to simulate a cyber attack.
Yeah, this is a proof of concept. They focused on modeling a water treatment plant, and Claude was deployed as an autonomous agent and was able to reconstruct this really complex 100-plus step attack chain.
The kind a human team would use?
The kind of skilled human red team would use, and it did it in only 3 hours.
3 hours. I mean, that's compared to multiple weeks for human-led teams. That speed is incredible.
It is. It shows how these agents can just drastically accelerate defensive security testing, shoring up vulnerabilities in critical infrastructure faster than we ever could before.
Yeah, but if you're going to deploy these autonomous multi-step systems, especially somewhere like a water plant, you have to be absolutely sure they are robust, that they won't, go off the rails.
Which brings us perfectly to Anthropic Engineering's new publication, Demystifying Evils for AI Agents.
This is basically their playbook for making sure these agents work reliably in the real world.
It is. The guide details their strategies for evaluating agents, for dealing with, the complexities of multi-turn interactions, tool use, and what they call long horizon tasks.
Tasks that take many steps over a long time.
Exactly. And doing these evaluations properly is essential. It's how you ensure the systems are aligned and robust, and it lets you accelerate development while preventing these really costly, high-stakes production issues that could happen if you deploy an erratic agent.
Okay, so let's recap. Intelligence is getting cheaper, it's getting safer. That 1% safety overhead is key, which is the foundation they need to sell to big, cautious corporations. So if they just built this incredibly efficient engine, the obvious question is, where are they driving it?
And the answer is clearly high-stakes medicine.
We're moving from pure R&D to deep verticalization.
That's the story of the week. The biggest product news was the Claude for Healthcare and Life Sciences launch on January 11th. Anthropic rolled out a HIPAA-ready suite designed specifically for providers, for payers, with new capabilities for life sciences research.
And just to clarify for everyone listening, when we say agentic AI in this context, we're talking about an AI that can string together multiple commands and tools on its own.
Right.
So like reading a patient chart, cross-referencing that with a specific drug trial, and then generating a summary of what it found, all autonomously.
Precisely. And in healthcare, this is so much more than a chatbot. This release had new connectors to these authoritative medical databases, like clinicaltrials.gov and Medidata. Through the PubMed connector alone, Claude now has access to roughly 35 million biomedical records.
So the agent is operating on specialized, reliable data.
Yes, and that HIPAA-ready part is absolutely crucial for this pivot into enterprise infrastructure, isn't it?
It's everything. It's infrastructure for compliance. For a hospital or an insurer, having a vendor that's HIPAA-ready that can handle protected health information, that's just table stakes. It's the baseline.
So by providing this, Anthropic is establishing itself right in the middle of the regulated healthcare market. It puts them in direct competition in this very high-trust, high-liability environment.
And this enterprise push is being backed up by some serious upgrades for developers. Let's talk about the massive engineering update in the Claude Code v2.1.0 agentic architecture shift.
Yeah, this was not a minor patch. It had, get this, 1,096 commits.
1,000 commits. Someone was working some very long hours.
I think so. But that huge update dramatically shifted their command line tool to better support these asynchronous agentic workflows. They basically transformed their developer tooling into production-grade infrastructure for building these complex multi-step agents.
And what's the result for the developer on the ground?
Well, the functional result is striking. They introduced things like skill-hot reloading, which cut the iteration speed how long it takes a developer to test a change in their agent skills, from about 2 minutes down to around 5 seconds.
Wow, a 24x improvement.
A 24x improvement in feedback time. And that directly speeds up building the exact kinds of complex agent pipelines that enterprises need for, say, clinical trials or insurance claims.
So that's the professional side. But Anthropic is also starting to democratize this power for non-developers, showing what the future of autonomy on the desktop might look like. They began previewing Cowork.
Cowork is fascinating. It's so interesting because it moves Claude beyond just the chat window and into the user's local desktop through the Mac OS app. A user can actually grant Claude access to local folders to delegate tasks.
So instead of asking Claude, hey, summarize this PDF for me, you could say, go through this entire folder of financial statements, generate a spreadsheet of quarterly revenues, and then organize all of it into subfolders by year.
Exactly that. Claude moves from just answering questions to actively performing complex, multi-step, autonomous work on your actual files. And that emphasis on autonomous execution, the agent as a full collaborator, is the single most important theme across all their releases this week.
And that focus on autonomy and local file access, it leads us directly to safety and the implications, because if these agents are autonomous, acting on private, real-world data, we have to scrutinize the risks.
We do.
The same week all these incredible advancements were released, we saw research highlighting a major new risk, agentic LLMs as powerful de-anonymizers.
This is just a profound moment. It's the dual-use nature of technology rearing its head in real time.
Right.
Independent research showed that widely available LLM agents, ones with web search, could be used to re-identify participants in Anthropic's own public dataset, the Anthropic Interviewer dataset.
And the attack was so simple, but devastatingly effective. They just focused on a subset of scientist interviews, and the agent pieced together these benign, publicly available data points, things like quotes, fields of study, institutional phrases.
And it was able to link them.
It linked 6 out of 24 of the interviews they analyzed to specific published academic papers, uniquely identifying the interviewees.
And that's the central dilemma here, isn't it? The very strength of this frontier AI, its ability to synthesize and connect all these disparate data points from across the web, is exactly what makes it such a powerful de-anonymizer.
It's a low-effort attack, too, using public tools against research data that was never meant to withstand that level of synthetic intelligence.
And when they were contacted about this, the Anthropic privacy team response was, well, it was clarifying, but a bit cold.
What did they say?
They confirmed participants had consented to the public release of the raw transcripts, but then they drew a line in the sand. They said any redactions they had done were considered an additional courtesy, not a privacy safeguard.
A courtesy, not a safeguard.
Yeah. And as of January 8th, they hadn't taken any further actions.
That distinction that's a critical debate for this whole industry. It implies that if the data is legally consented to be public, the company takes no responsibility for the downstream risks created by their own technology.
It really highlights how traditional privacy models are just failing in the age of these LLM agents. It forces us to ask, if the implicit promise of anonymity can be broken by the intelligence of the agents themselves, how do we regulate that? How do we rethink data sharing?
Suddenly, the capability of a tool like Cowork to browse your local files and execute complex tasks feels a lot more risky.
It does. When you pair it with the knowledge that the agent is this good at synthesis and association, the dual-use problem is right there on your desktop.
Shifting to the broader corporate philosophy here, Anthropic's president, Daniela Amodei, she weighed in on this whole efficiency philosophy versus compute race.
Right. Amodei emphasized the company's core strategy is do more with less. She said they're relying on algorithmic and architectural innovation, like that 40x safety improvement we talked about, rather than just sheer brute force compute spending.
It's a way of differentiating themselves from their competitors.
It is, but it's also a necessary strategic defense, isn't it? I mean, they're addressing investor concerns about the sustainability of the, estimated $100 billion in compute commitments across the industry.
So if they can achieve competitive intelligence with less hardware, their profit margins just look so much better long term.
Exactly. And that's the technical justification for the financial news. Here's where all that efficiency and enterprise focus translates into aggressive market confidence. And this is where it gets really interesting.
The market aggressively validated this entire strategy this week.
It did. Reports confirmed Anthropic is planning to raise about $10 billion in new funding, at a staggering $350 billion valuation.
That is an immense jump in valuation.
Immense. If this deal goes through, it would nearly double the company's $183 billion valuation from just last September.
In 4 months.
In 4 months. That kind of exponential growth signals that investors like Coatue Management and Singapore's GIC see Anthropic's focus on high reliability, safety-differentiated models for regulated enterprise as a true economic moat.
So this valuation isn't based on, chat app metrics. It's based on the idea that they can sell fundamental, compliant infrastructure to the world's most cautious businesses.
And the partnerships this week confirm that strategy completely. The Allianz Global Enterprise Partnership, for example, announced on January 9th.
A huge win in financial services.
A major enterprise win. The global insurance conglomerate Allianz said it would deploy Anthropic's responsible AI for internal tooling and compliance. This kind of deep engagement reflects what we're hearing about Anthropic's traction, with some reports suggesting they hold around 40% enterprise AI market share in certain segments.
And maybe the most critical piece of compliance infrastructure this week was the news that Anthropic was enabled as a Microsoft subprocessor.
This is the easy button for enterprise compliance. For a big company that uses Microsoft 365, Outsourcing a task to a vendor like Anthropic used to involve this whole complex security vetting process.
Right.
Now, by becoming a formal subprocessor, it means Anthropic has passed Microsoft's extremely high security and data handling standards. It just simplifies the whole legal and security process for millions of M365 users, embedding Claude deeper into that enterprise ecosystem.
And finally, reinforcing that aggressive move into the medical vertical, the Danish biotech firm Genmab announced a partnership in life sciences.
Yeah, on January 7th, Genmab is deploying these Claude-powered agentic AI solutions across its clinical development programs. This just illustrates how these new, efficient, capable models are providing genuine, measurable value right now.
And it frees up their teams.
It enables their teams to automate complex data analysis, letting them focus more of their time on that high-value scientific and strategic work. That's the real industrial impact.
So, to summarize this seismic week, that $350 billion valuation wasn't based on some speculative chat volume. It was a validation of a clear, integrated strategy. A
Absolutely.
strategy that leverages technological efficiency, that 40x cost reduction for safety is just paramount, to aggressively move into regulated, high-liability verticals like healthcare and insurance.
And the technical engine, that Claude Code 2.1.0 update, is now fully configured to fuel this shift toward agent economy, moving Claude into this new role of an autonomous collaborator.
So the ability to deploy highly capable autonomous models cheaply and safely, that 1% safety overhead is the financial differentiator, that's what justifies this industrial scale valuation.
It is. The massive funding they're getting isn't just spending money, it's capital expenditure for a new era of industrial AI, an era that's less reliant on sheer compute scale and more reliant on just intelligent architecture.
You just heard that the same agent technology used to accelerate cyber defense at a national lab and speed up drug discovery at Genmab was also used in independent research to successfully de-anonymize private research participants. So as Anthropic continues to pursue this vision of autonomous agents, tools like Cowork that can read your files and run complex commands for you, what new category of privacy risk should you be most concerned about? The risk of the model hallucinating and getting the answer wildly wrong, or the risk of the model becoming too good at synthesis and revealing a hidden truth?